Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Rachel Feinstein, Director of DC Government and Community Relations with the Jewish Community Relations Council of Greater Washington. I'm thrilled that so many of you have signed up to join this webinar to hear from Vincent Orange, former DC Council member, former President of the DC Chamber of Commerce, and now candidate for Mayor of DC. Thank you, Vincent, for taking the time today in your schedule to speak with us. Before we begin, I'll provide a few disclaimers and some logistics for today's webinar. First, the JCRC is a 501c3 tax-exempt organization, which means we do not endorse candidates. We utilize objective criteria in every election to determine who can participate in our candidate forums to maintain our nonprofit status. The mayoral candidates we are speaking with this week will be on the ballot, and they have raised at least 15% of the amount raised in the current election cycle by the campaign of the candidate in the same race, which has raised the most funds. The conversation today will be moderated by Alan Korn, JCRC board member, co-chair of JCRC's DC committee, and a longtime DC and Ward 4 resident. The format will be as follows. Alan will ask 9 questions of the candidate, Vincent Orange, who will have 3 minutes to respond to each question. A timer will be displayed on the screen, and at the end of the formal questions, we will then turn to audience-submitted questions. Please feel free to submit any questions using the Q&A box, and we will do our best to get to some of these questions during our allotted time today. With that, Alan, I'll turn it over to you.
Sure, thank you. There we go. We're back. Hi, Vincent. Let me just say thank you for being here. And if I may take the prerogative of being the moderator just to make a personal comment first. Rest assured that we understand that we're just a couple of weeks, a little bit more away from the primary. And your time, all the candidates' time is very valuable. And we recognize and appreciate that you took that commodity here and are spending about a half hour, 40 minutes with us. And just know, Mr. Orange, that we're very much appreciate and recognize that you took the time to be with us, given that constraint. So,
well, thank you very much. I really appreciate having the opportunity to have this conversation.
Yeah, well, me too. And the first question is one that strikes us. It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of courage to run for an executive position like President of the United States, governor of a state, mayor of a big or small city. And it seems to us that historically and traditionally, the first question that's always asked in this situation for someone who wants to lead a constituency like you do is, why do you want to be mayor? You've heard that question before. And then also maybe a subcontext in that, what differentiates you from the other candidates?
Well, I want to be mayor at this point in time because I think that we need a mayor that comes to the table with institutional knowledge, with experience, with a record of delivery and stability. Right now, I think we're kind of unstable as a government. And I've had the opportunity to be there when we had a $518 million deficit, when we had a control board, when we had a mayor that had been stripped of all its powers, and we were scared of Y2K. Make a long story short, in that 8-year period, the voters said to the civil rights leaders, thank you very much, but we need a more professional government. In comes Anthony Williams, in comes me as an attorney, certified public accountant with a master of laws and taxation from Georgetown, and we got busy. Make a long story short, we went from a $518 million deficit to $1.6 billion in the bank, from a mayor that had no powers to all powers being restored. And also we got past Y2K. And while the rest of the nation was going through a recession, we used that as an opportunity because everyone in the DMV had jobs because of the federal government. And we created a plan called the Economic Resurgence of Washington, D.C., Citizens Plan for Prosperity. We executed the 40 action items, and that's what's bringing us where we are today. Like, I tell people, I'm not Benjamin Banneker, but I did have the opportunity to change the comprehensive plan for the rebirth of union market. I was there. I was co-chair of the new metro station at North Capitol that gave us the basis to create NOMA. I was able to jumpstart economic development by bringing the Home Depot shopping center, the Costco shopping center on Rhode Island Road. Jump-started school modernization with the reopening of McKinley Technology High School and school modernization. So with that as a foundation, I'm looking at now we need to move forward. We have problems because of COVID. We have problems because we've lost about 30 jobs, the federal government. We can't count on that. Now we have to count on ourselves. So we have a $22 billion government, 11.7 billion generated from DC taxpayers. We don't have a money problem, we have a management problem. And I come to the table with the management and the experience to move the government forward, to bring back stability, to jumpstart our economy, and to provide a vision, because we need a new vision based on what we have encountered. I think we need to pivot to a destination for family entertainment, use our big strengths such as the museums, our restaurants, our theaters, build around that, build a new economy, and with everything that's in the pipeline, the new stadium, Ted Leonce's project, we can create that, create jobs, create affordable housing. So those are the reasons why I'm running. I'm fired up and I'm ready to go. I still have the energy and I have a record of delivery and I want to continue delivery.
Thank you, sir. And we'll go on to the second question, and I don't think you'll be very much surprised by this one either. How would your administration navigate the district's limited home rule authority to protect local autonomy and advance policy priorities when they conflict with federal directives? Specifically, what guiding principles would shape your engagement with Congress and the Trump administration? And where would you draw the line between strategic compromise and firm resistance to federal interference?
Well, first of all, I would govern in the words of John F. Kennedy. We're not going to negotiate in fear, yet we will not fear to negotiate. And so that's my principle in dealing with the White House and Congress. I would let them know up front what's non-negotiable. Home rule is non-negotiable. DC autonomy is non-negotiable. The pursuit of statehood is non-negotiable. But from there, we can at least have a conversation. Let's find the common ground. Right now, the president says he wants to invest in apprenticeships. Well, that falls right into part of my plan, which is to offer all high school graduates a paid apprenticeship with the DC agencies that I oversee. So if you want to be an accountant, I'm going to get you over to the Office of Tax and Revenue. If you want to do event planning, I'm going to get you over to Events DC. I'm going to channel our students so they know they have an opportunity waiting for them. He's high on education. I'm going to ensure that our high school graduates can go to the University of the District of Columbia tuition free. And so those are common grounds that we can work on. He's for public safety. I'm for public safety. I want to get our officers back up to 4,500. This council created this narrative, and my two other opponents, they created the narrative of defund the police. Well, in creating that narrative, we went from approximately 4,500 police officers, we're down to 3,100 officers. Yet they continue to budget for 4,500 officers. So what's going on with those dollars? Yes, there's going to be overtime because you don't have the officers. And really, I believe that gave the avenue for the president and Congress to come in with the National Guard and others because we were not able to protect the citizens of the District of Columbia. And now all of a sudden, there's a numbers problem. 13 officers are on administrative leave because they've finagled the numbers. And that doesn't serve us well. So once again, you come with institutional knowledge, you know what's taking place, you provide a vision, and let's jumpstart this economy and let's move forward. So the president says he wants to spend $10 billion in the District of Columbia. Well, I want to engage you in that $10 billion conversation. What's in that package? How does it benefit the citizens of the District of Columbia? The big, beautiful bill, the council just kind of kicked it to the side. But when I looked at it, it was $600 million in that bill for DC middle class, the seniors, and our businesses. So those are things that I think, when you come to the table with strength and you come to the table with knowledge and you come to the table with experience and you can look the president dead in the eye, he can look you dead in the eye, and we have a conversation. But it's a conversation that on issues, common ground, But this is where we draw the line on these things. And I don't mind asking asking the president for control of the National Guard.
Very good. Uh, Over the past year and a half, the district has seen the loss of thousands of jobs, in particular federal jobs. The city needs an economic boost. We've seen many cities across the country go through economic downturn due to the breakdown of the city's primary industry, such as Pittsburgh. However, Pittsburgh made a comeback with a focus on their medical and technical sectors, working with universities and business leaders. As mayor, how would you build back the DC economy?
Well, first of all, we are a $22 billion government. 11.7 billion is locally generated from DC taxpayers. On day one, and actually not day one, when I win the general election in November, I'm going to set up a revenue alignment commission. And I want to line up the dollars. I want to see what's coming in. And are those dollars being utilized for their intended purpose? And then the next column is going to show me what's being spent, what's not being spent for its intended purpose, and the surplus. And that surplus is going to be utilized to help the citizens of the District of Columbia. For example, I've already indicated with the police officers, you're budgeting for 4,500, but we only have 3,100. Where are those extra dollars? The traffic cameras. The traffic cameras are supposed to fund Vision Zero. We funded Vision Zero 4 or 5 times. Those cameras are generating in excess of $300 million. Vision Zero is about $75 to $95 million. Where are those dollars? The paid family leave, that rate was so high on our businesses that the council, the mayor had to reduce the rate because it was generating so much dollars, but they didn't give a refund back to the citizens or the businesses of the District of Columbia. So there are dollars there. The problem is we are funding programs that we're not aware that we're funding that do not have their own revenue source. And now you all of a sudden it comes to a head. Now we have a $1.1 billion gap. The first gap of $600 million deals with the big, beautiful bill because the council decided they wanted to decouple without having a public hearing, without talking to anyone to get other ideas on how we can address that. But that's $600 million. But they wanted to use the $600 million to give $200 million to low-income families for the earned income tax credit and the child tax credit, but the council was going to keep $400 million. So why do I need to pay the council $400 million so they can give $200 million to our low-income families? As opposed to taking that entire $600 million as it was outlined, get it to middle class, the people that will be able to deduct their overtime pay, the people will be able to deduct tips. If you bought a car, you'll be able to deduct that interest. Businesses will be able to deduct research and development, accelerate depreciation, and seniors get an extra $6,000 deduction. But that class of folks, they're going to spend that money back in our economy. So those dollars begin to circulate. And you can even have gone as far to do a tax package to allow the $400 million to go to the low income family by utilizing the reserves as long as you have a payment plan that's required by law to pay back what you take out of the reserve over a 3-year period. So you jumpstart the economy $2.5 billion because you're going to spend $1 billion with our certified business enterprises anyway.
Very good, sir. The next set of questions are topics that are particularly of interest to the Jewish community and the JCRC. So I'll get right at it. This is question number 4. The Jewish community has faced an unprecedented rise in acts of hate in recent years. The ADL's recently released report on anti-Semitism showed that although incidents of vandalism and harassment are down from 2024, 2025 was one of the most violent periods for American Jews since 1979. There is an increasing need, we believe, in DC, our nation's capital, for increased security at vulnerable institutions. How would your administration ensure adequate security to protect faith-based and community organizations, all types, at risk of hate crimes? especially given rising threats, strong local demand that already exceeds available funds, and uncertainty around federal support like the Nonprofit Security Grant Program?
Well, that's a great question. And, it's clear Jewish organizations and other nonprofits facing threats should not have to choose between serving people and paying for security. Public safety is the number one issue in this race. So, providing and expanding access to security grants, speeding approval for cameras and other safety upgrades, improving coordination with the Metropolitan Police Department. As you know, the new mayor will appoint a chief, and I'm going to open that process up to the community. So you can come in and shape the vision for the type of police chief that we desire, one that's going to provide us the protection and safety that we need. Now, we don't want over policing, but we need policing. We want to prevent crime as much as possible, but when enforcement is necessary, we are going to provide enforcement, although we provide opportunity for all. But we should provide threat assessments, staff training, emergency planning for synagogues, schools, community centers, mosques, churches, and other at-risk institutions. And that should be something that we are actually examining on a monthly basis, our threat level. And as you can see, the teams are out of control down in the Navy Yard, and it's consistent. So these issues and the issues that the Jewish community is facing is not going to go away. So we have to be prepared for it. We have enough data to address it, and it has to become a priority that crime will not be tolerated in the District of Columbia. So the same as we now have Vision Zero, we need to have no crime will be tolerated should be our guiding principle. And then we reach that by bringing everyone to the table, allocating the dollars that are necessary, getting our police force back up to 4,500, getting a new chief that shares our vision of safety. And that safety also protects our economy, it protects our schools, it protects our neighborhoods. Public safety just entwines through everything that the District of Columbia desires to do. We don't want to have the president telling the nation that DC is not safe. We don't want people to turn on the TV and synagogues are under attack in the Jewish community and in the Asian community and the African American. You can't walk down the street. I can't take my granddaughters, who I love dearly, over to the Navy Yard. They love playing in those water puddles and those water ponds. And so it's all about safety. And I am going to be the law and order mayor. I believe in law and order, and that is key. And those dollars are going to be allocated to make sure that public safety is the number one item that we must address.
Thank you very much, sir. And I'll since I'm the moderator, I'll take a point of personal prerogative again. For the first, I'm a member of a temple in the District of Columbia, and the first time in I've been there a member since the early 90s. And for the first time ever over the past year, maybe couple of years, when I take my family to temple, I look to where the exits are just in case. And that to me sits very heavily with me, and I think represents how important the issue it is to the Jewish and faith-based community. So I'll let you respond to it briefly, and then we'll get on to the next question.
Absolutely. I'm a member of the African Methodist Episcopal Church downtown, and we now have officers. There's always 3 officers now at every service. So this crosses all ethnic groups, just safety. And we have to make sure that we are prepared for safety. We have to assess the threats. That has to be part of our incident command structure. And, we need to have the technology. Technology is available for us to address these issues. It's not like the technology doesn't exist. It's just our willpower and our priorities have to move to the forefront for public safety.
We saw what happened just yesterday, the horrific incident out in Los Angeles. So it's magnified manyfold. So thank you very much. Many targeted groups currently have designated liaisons with the MPD and the mayor's office, but the Jewish community does not, despite experiencing the highest number of hate crime incidents in DC, according to MPD data. How would you actually structure your administration and your staff architecture to prevent and respond to anti-Semitism, including offices, reporting lines, interagency coordination, community advisory mechanisms, data tracking, accountability, all those things? It's a question of organizing your administration to combat this scourge.
Well, once again, what you've outlined in terms of the data that's available to be shared with MPD, and MPD has to provide the audience to accept that information and then utilize it properly. So, like I said, I'm going to be keen on safety, and I would welcome that data, and I would make sure that we do have a liaison and not just from the Jewish community, but the Asian community as well, and other communities that are facing these type of issues. So sharing data, but it's more than just sharing data; it's the utilization of the data and holding someone accountable. And so when that data comes in and we assess those threats, then I need a plan of action. And from my perspective, it's prevention first. So if we're armed with this information and if we can prevent an occurrence, then I'd rather prevent it than have to have a press conference talking about what occurred and someone saying, well, your administration had all this data. What were y'all doing? You were asleep at the wheel. So I'm going to be proactive. And I think that's the key. And hearing from the community, because I believe just on what you're espousing right now, that you're going to be proactive with me. So it's not like I'm going to be out there by myself. It's as the leader, I need to galvanize and pull everybody together so we can be proactive on these threat assessments and anything else that may jeopardize a good quality of life in the District of Columbia.
Thank you, Vincent. We have 3 more questions. The last one, I promise you, is very, very easy. Will take only but 30 seconds to answer. I'm looking forward to asking it to you. But 2 more issues that are important to the Jewish community. Questions 7 and 8. Let me get right to them. As you most certainly know, the Early Childhood Education Pay Equity Fund, which provides $60 million to ensure livable wages for childcare and preschool educators, was fully funded in 2022 and in following years, but was eliminated in the mayor's proposed FY27 budget. This cut would severely impact DC's childcare sector, including 4 Jewish preschools that rely on it. What is your position on this program and its funding?
Well, I support the program and I support 100% funding. Our children are our greatest asset. They are our future, and we need to invest in our children. I have a plan for education. I believe that, in universal pre-K, we should not be placing these labels on these kids that are unwarranted. So if a kid is acting up or can't read or can't sound out, have we examined whether or not the kid needs eyeglasses? Has there been a thorough examination? Have we checked to see if the kid needs a hearing aid? Have we done everything that we can do? And if we go through those milestones, then if we have to focus in on the home, then we do that at an early age. We need to make sure, in my view, that 3 and 4-year-olds are being prepared for kindergarten when we need them to take the seat. And then from kindergarten, I want to get into the curriculum. What is the curriculum of kindergarten? What is the curriculum of the first grade? What is the curriculum of the second grade? And I need measures of performance, because I know ultimately when that child gets ready to hit the 4th grade, the child must be reading independently. The child must be able to add, subtract, multiply, and divide. because the curriculum changes. Once again, if you're not prepared, I can't introduce you to fractions, to decimals, to algebra. If you have not learned how to read, and you cannot regurgitate when the curriculum calls for you to give back what you read. So there is, in my view, there's going to be a big focus on early childhood education.
Do
Now,
you think there's an economic component to that? We're talking before about how to rebuild the economy, access to daycare and paying daycare providers a living wage plus. Is that related to the economy, the health of the economy?
yes, absolutely. If you know that I am the one that got the minimum wage to $15 per hour, and I put the CPI index, so we don't have to discuss that again. So this July 1st, it will be $18.40 per hour, and it will continue to grow based on inflation. I was the one that got the living wages for the people you see, the clean teams. I had them come in, make their case. We were not providing them the living wages. So I know that folks need to have the funding in order to move forward. And I know that education is the key. I'm a better chance student. When I was 14, I got a scholarship. I'm from, the tough low income. I got a scholarship, went away to a boarding school, changed my entire life. So I'm keyed in on education. Education is the key. And my wife is a special education teacher. She got her master's in education from Howard. And so we are keen on education. And I'm the first one in my family to go to college. So that's the key.
Very good. Two more questions. We'll get through them. The last one, I promise you, will be very, very quick. But this is another important issue to the Jewish community. Jewish tradition recognizes the importance of the home as a sacred place. Affordable, accessible, and safe housing is therefore a very important social justice issue for our DC Jewish community and even beyond. The budget for the Affordable Housing Production Trust Fund is once again in jeopardy this budget cycle. Any reductions to the program will reduce the city's ability to support and build affordable housing options, including the vital work of our synagogues and our interfaith partners. The Affordable Housing Production Trust Fund faces a proposed cut from $100 million to $50 million. Been covered in the news, I know. Where do you stand on this reduction, and how would your administration ensure access to affordable housing?
Well, I can tell you right now, that proposal is dead on arrival in the Orange administration. We started the Housing Production Trust Fund when we were there in the Williams administration, and it's been funded $100 million on an annual basis. And we spend in excess of $1.5 billion on affordable housing. It's like it's Maslow's hierarchy of needs. In order for one to move forward, you need shelter, you need food, you need clothing, you need transportation, and that just gets you on a level playing field. But you can't, without the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you can't move forward. So we must have housing, you must have shelter. And that $100 million, actually, I plan to build 1,000 housing units immediately. But this is going to be like 600 square feet units. And primarily to get it started, I'm building it for seniors. I'm building it for minimum wage workers. I'm building it for first responders because, my success when I'm in office and when my 13-year record is getting small victories and getting people to believe. And so if I can start getting our high school graduates into entry-level jobs with health care benefits, and all of a sudden, I have a $75,000 unit that you can afford, and you're going to get a deed. That's going to reverberate. You're a police officer. We need you to be here in town, and you can get one of these units. And we just build on that. Because right now, folks don't see the affordable housing. We keep saying affordable housing, but is 80% of the AMI affordable housing? What is the area median income these days? But we do know that our minimum wage workers, that they're, if they're lucky, they're making $50,000 a year. So we need to find some housing in that range for them. We need to find a housing for I say our first responders. We want them living in the city, our police officers, our firefighters, our school teachers, our child care workers. So let's make it affordable for them, but also we need folks to see it. If you see it, you can believe it, if you can touch it. And so that's what my administration is all about. When I was able to jumpstart economic development for the city by bringing Home Depot, folks thought it couldn't work. But once we made the case that there's disposable income in DC, got Home Depot to buy into that, they became the #1 grossing Home Depot in the nation. Now all of a sudden Costco's knocking on the door. There's disposable income in DC. Lowe's wants to come in. Everybody wants to come in because we made the case, and seeing is believing. And the same with housing. Seeing is believing. And so, I need those short-term victories right away. And I want DC-based organizations to actually build those homes. Because for me, it's all, if I circulate those dollars in DC, and if it's a DC business that's generated, we're going to get some of that money back by way of taxation. Now, I know there's a lot of nonprofit organizations are not going to be taxed, but still the idea that the dollars are circulating in the District of Columbia and we're providing something that's definitely needed. And everyone needs a roof over their head.
Thanks so much, Vincent. And I haven't heard Maslow's hierarchy of needs referenced since my freshman year psychology class. So that was very good. That brings back some good memories. Thanks so much. The last question, and then we're going to go to maybe just 1 or 2 questions, depending on time. That's Rachel's call that we might have received from some of our audience members. But the 9th question is the one that I alluded to. That's the easiest. What are your 2 favorite restaurants in Washington, D.C.? Where might I run into you when you're going out to get a bite to eat in the district? And I'm happy to tell you mine. So,
okay. Well, you can find me at the Hitching Post, right at the entrance of the Soldiers Home. They have the best fried chicken around. I mean, really, really good. And I also have a soft spot for the new restaurant down on the wharf called The Point.
Mine, you're going to think I'm making it up, is the Hitching Post. If I want to go get fried chicken, that's my restaurant, and it's really, really very good. I love it. So, all right, Rachel, we'll get us back on track, and maybe there's a question or 2 from the audience before we let Vincent head back to the hard work of campaigning.
Yes. Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Vincent. And I can attest that Alan told me while we were practicing for these webinars that his favorite restaurant indeed was the Hitching Post. I can attest.
Wow.
Favorite DC restaurant. So,
DC restaurant.
Yeah.
Yes. So we do have a few. Yep, go ahead.
It's a nice atmosphere there, and it's a nice location. And a lot of folks, a lot of the soldiers that retire live over at the Soldiers Home, they also come over as well. And we golf over at the Soldiers Home and Hitching Post for happy hours and chicken. So it's a great place.
I'll see you there for sure.
All right.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Love this. We do have a few audience submitted questions that were submitted by community members ahead of the webinar and some during. We'll try to get to a few of these. First, as mayor, what specific actions beyond security funds and statements of condemnation would you pursue to counter anti-Semitism? And where do you see the limits of mayoral authority versus the roles of federal law enforcement, schools, and civil society in addressing this issue?
Well, so you're saying beyond security measures and threat assessments and things like that. The biggest thing that the mayor has is the platform. And to speak about, safety on an ongoing basis, and that, crime will not be tolerated in any form or fashion, and making that part of the pedigree of the nation's capital. And we have to take that, take that situation, take that platform away from the president. We cannot have a president of the United States of America saying that the nation's capital is not safe. And, people buy into that. And we also cannot have, what we see on TV, teenagers out of control. I saw that one family over the weekend. It was scared to death. They're in there trying to enjoy a good meal, and these kids are out of control. And it's just a continuation. So It's one thing is having the platform, but also showing up as well. The mayor has to be visible and show up. Come out to the synagogues, come out to the churches, come out to your community centers, and be visible and indicating that crime will not be tolerated and anti-Semitism will not be tolerated.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you. Next question. A sometimes overlooked way to make our streets safer is by investing in public transit. Neighborhoods get connected, the region's economy is strengthened, and fewer cars are on the road, improving traffic for everyone. How will you think about transit as part of your safety plan?
Well, I definitely think about transit as part of the safety plan, but I'm also very aware that our seniors are being left out of those plans. I don't see a lot of seniors 65 and over riding bikes. And also, I want to be able to really examine what's taking place. Like on my block, there are three very senior families is on the block. And if there was to be a bike lane that comes down this block, then how will those seniors be able to get around? How will they be able to get service? And they have to now park away from their homes. Another thing that's been brought to my attention is that okay, you got three seniors, they each have their homes, and generally you want to exercise dominion and control over your home, and generally you park in front of your home. Well, now only one person is eligible to get the handicap parking spot, but there's 3, 4 people on the block that are in desperate need. So I think there really needs to be a summit on senior issues, and let's hear from the seniors. I mean, yes, the young people, they're the ones riding the bikes and they have a lot of energy, and that's all well and good, but we have to have a balance. And I'm not so sure that, we have over 50 miles of bike lanes now. And is that enough? But also beyond that, I'm having a problem with the way DDOT is marking up the streets, these dividers, and they're taking away a lot of the driving apparatus. And I think there really needs to be an overall view on this. See, I'm going to be a mayor that's going to be engaged. I believe that we have mayors that are not engaged and they just let the directors do whatever they want, but they don't go out there and feel and touch the impact of what their directors are doing. And I think the directors, just like the chancellor has to be held accountable. The police chief has to be held accountable. And that's why I say I come to the table with institutional knowledge. I've been there. I've worked with Mayor Williams. I've worked with Mayor Gray. I've worked with Mayor Marion Barry. So I've seen them all in action. And then I come to the table with my frame of reference, but also with the experience and a record of achievement. I feel I'm the most accomplished, the most educated, the most delivery candidate in this race.
Yep. Excellent. Thank you. And I think we have time for one more question. Many constituents have seen their electricity, their Pepco bills increase. One constituent says that their own electric bills have increased by over $100 each month compared to last year. What would you do as mayor to keep electric utility costs down?
Okay, well, one thing, I'm going to be very, very careful in who I appoint to the Public Service Commission. If you look at the makeup of the Public Service Commission, a lot of them are lobbyists for the industry. And so, they're coming with a certain frame of reference. We need to make sure there's a proper balance. And also, I don't write the rules and the regulations. That's under the jurisdiction of the Public Service Commission. But once again, I have the office and I can call the public service in for a meeting and talk to them about their philosophy and let them know the impact of their rulings, as well as calling in those utility companies, going and meeting with the chairman of the boards of Exelon and Washington Gas and really examine what is taking place, because you're really driving people out. So the high utility bills, and then by the time you get home, you might have 2 or 3 tickets from cameras everywhere that put a camera at the bottom of the hill, you're riding your brakes. I mean, all of this stuff is just a heavy, heavy burden on the citizens of the District of Columbia. And in my view, the citizens are crying out for help. And that's why, once again, I believe that Vincent Orange is the right person at the right time for a moment such as this. I hear you, I feel it, and I can address it.
I think that's a perfect segue into your closing remarks for at 2 minutes. Sum up any last thoughts and what you want to leave our audience with today.
Well, first of all, I just want to thank you very much for providing this opportunity for us to have this conversation. I'm Vincent Orange, heavenly number 7 on the ballot. I'd like to be ranked number 1, but if you can't rank me number 1, please rank me number 2. But I'm heavenly number 7 on the ballot. I come to this with institutional knowledge, with experience, with stability and delivery. The Orange Plan will address public safety. We will address education, make sure that our high school graduates have pathways, including free tuition at the University of District of Columbia, or paid apprenticeships upon graduation at the agencies that are under my control. We will address affordable housing. We're going to get a quick short-term victory. We're going to put 1,000 people in units right away and have that built by our certified business enterprises or nonprofit organizations that are in that particular space. I'm the one that took the certified business enterprise program from $0. Now the mayor has announced that she's going to spend 1.5 billion with our certified business enterprises with contract opportunities. In my administration, I'm going to take it to $2 billion. But I built that economic engine. No one can deny that. And we're going to jumpstart this economy by being more family oriented. I'm upset that the Sphere is going to Prince George's County, and they're boasting that that's going to generate $65 million on an annual basis. Where's our vision? That should be at New York Avenue, New York and Bladensburg, coming into the city, attached to the National Arboretum, in the area where the new stadium is going to be built. We can redo the golf course. We can generate dollars the same way we did with Nats Park and the Wharf. It generates dollars that now we can use for social issues that we so desperately need. So thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you to the JCRC. I really greatly appreciate it. And Vincent Orange, heavenly number 7 on the ballot. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Orange, and thank you, Alan, for moderating. Yep. Yes, and if you want to learn more about these candidates and others running for office in the upcoming primary, the JCRC and Washington Jewish Week have published a comprehensive Jewish voters guide, which is posted on our website here. And thank you, Mr. Orange, for filling out that questionnaire as well. A recording of this and all our candidate forums will be posted and shared widely after our last candidate forum later this week. Finally, remember to go out and make your voice heard. Mail-in ballots were sent out last week. I received mine in the mail yesterday, and they must be postmarked or dropped off in a ballot drop box by June 16th. Early voting begins June 8th, and of course you can vote on Election Day, June 18th. Polls are open 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Thank you, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day.